So we're completing another mentor evaluation. We completed video number 4, recording number 4. This time we were trying some new things with regard to activities and games for learning in the class. So we were focusing on standards 6, 7, and 8 in this lesson. So William, I'll let you give your feedback.
All right, okay, so I saw you start with a picture of supermarket, empty shelf on the supermarket. So, and you ask the student to guess the cause of the problem. Okay, I find that's quite intriguing. So the student, they are trying to guess. So this is not a normal way of starting a lesson. I mean, previously you start with telling them the objectives. Here is the objectives of today, but you start with something different. I think that has caught their attention quite well. That's good. But there's also another picture, which is a full shelf of banana.
Right.
Students also guess the course, but maybe less students guessing for this one.
Yeah, and I think that maybe in retrospect, looking back, I probably chose a bad example here specifically because the bananas were green in the picture. So they were focusing more on there's too many, or they ordered, they're not ripe. Yeah. And that was the problem they kept coming up with instead of being overstocked or over-ordered.
Yes.
So next time I would have to look for a more appropriate picture that would be extremely clear that we just had too many.
Yeah, yes, because you have just mentioned it. Banana is actually perishable products, perishable produce. So student might think less people want to buy because it's still green, unripened. So maybe customers will wait for another few days and come back to buy. So that could be what they were thinking.
Yeah, which shows that they still have a comprehension of the market and how the market's working. They were just focusing on the wrong aspect, and that was my bad.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. And I think, this is a misunderstanding. And then you introduce a main term, forecasting.
Right.
Forecasting. So I guess you didn't predict that the student didn't really know demand and supply.
No, the forecasting, I kind of thought that they may not know. I thought that they may know the word with relation to weather, but I didn't know that they wouldn't know any relation to that. So my main teacher at the school suggested that I could have had more pausing time for them to think about what it is, to try to work out the answer. With regard to what you said about supply and demand, I absolutely did not predict that. That is something that completely threw me off. So.
Oh yeah, so that basically, because you're not main teacher yet, right? So you don't know what they have learned or not.
Correct.
That's the problem here. Okay, after that, I think so basically you tell them the objective of the lesson in a question, right? You also ask what are some of the factors that affect the price of goods.
Right.
Okay. The students answer directly.
Well, I told them that we're not going to answer the question immediately, that we were going to work our way through the whole game itself, which will reveal some of the answers along the way. And then the homework that I assigned for them included a worksheet that had several questions, including that question, which was, what were the factors that changed things? So we started to talk a little bit about it at the very, very end of class when I was doing my summary, but the real test, the real kind of exit ticket that I was going to do with them is going to show the complete understanding of the concept.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, instead of just telling them directly. Okay, so I think you continue with the teddy bears manufacturing and trading game.
Right.
Yeah, I heard you say buy and sell teddy bears. I think sell teddy bears, yes, but it's a manufacturing company, right?
Yeah, and
so it's not really buy teddy bears, it's buy the raw materials.
Right, And I think I could have been a little bit clearer on that. I went back and forth with my terminology. So sometimes I said make the teddy bears. Other times I referenced the raw materials, and then other times I said sell or buy the teddy bears. So I think I should have been more consistent with the terminology so that they don't get anything confused.
Yeah, I think that caused a little bit confusion. And you guided them through the first month, December.
Right.
The Christmas holidays, and the teddy bear was selling well, right, because of Christmas. You highlight some analysis points for decisions like consequences of not buying raw materials, right, and buying too few of them,
right,
isn't it? So they have seen, oh yeah, so that's how they should analyze for 1 month. So I think that's good. Then you set time slot for each month, right? So for each month, how long do you set it?
How long they were able to talk about it?
Yes.
I said 3 minutes.
3 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So that's good because you just have 45 minutes.
Right.
So if they take too long, then you cannot reach the end of the lesson. So yeah, I saw they follow your pattern and they try to discuss. That's good. And then you also give them sudden surprise,
Right.
different news.
Yeah.
Different news for every month. So I think this is a good way to introduce adversity, which is a very common thing in business. Business is all about unpredicted things, and you try to plan for it,
Right.
isn't it? So they get, I believe they get the whole idea of this is how a business run and what the business will encounter.
I think that that's a much more effective way than just giving them a list of possible factors. If I tell them that changes in weather or changes in supply or things like this, then it's much more difficult for them to comprehend.
Yeah.
But when they're seeing the news and when they're seeing that as part of their decisions, then it makes it much clearer. So I think that was a good choice.
So yeah, as my conclusion, I see that learning from games or learning from experience, right, is really fun for them.
Yeah.
Okay. They even want to continue when you say it's the last month.
Yeah.
Stop. We don't have enough time, because they thought you would continue up to month 8.
Yeah,
August.
I had originally put on the paper up to month 8, just in case
July.
we had enough time.
Yeah, just in case, right? Well, and they kind of a little bit upset when you say, okay, we have to cut it off. We have to summarize the whole lesson. Okay, so, and then for that, I mean, you instruct them to calculate the profit and loss, right?
Yes.
And summarize the lesson. Okay. Well, have you ever thought asking them to do counting, not at the end, but let's say every month?
Well, the way that the worksheet was completed, the way that the worksheet worked, if we were to look at it, I don't have a copy with me right now, but they actually have to carry forward the balance from the previous month. So they're actually calculating their balances, their cash balance, every month from month to month. So they do the purchase, they decide how many units, then they calculate a new balance. So they already know. That's why at the very end it was very quick for them to be able to calculate their profits, because they already had a cash balance. The only thing that was left for them to do was to subtract the $100,000 loan that they had gotten at the very, very, very beginning. So technically they were doing that. I had created it in such a way that they're carrying forward their balances each month and calculating it as they go.
So you mean every month they can see their profit or loss?
Yeah, they can see their total cash balance at that point. All you need to do is subtract the initial fund of $100,000, and then you know how much extra cash you've made.
But maybe they don't subtract it.
They had not done that until I got to the very end. Yes. But that's because in a real business scenario, you're not going to necessarily pay back your loan with your first month's profits or your first month's income, right?
It's true.
So I didn't want to force them to take that 100,000 out until we got toward the end of the activity, to help them to realize you had some seed money, you had some starting money, so you can't. That's not yours. You have to give it back. But I get having some sort of running situation. If I were teaching this in the accounting unit of a business class, I would probably definitely do that. I would include those extra steps.
Okay, yeah. I think I come from the point of view of accounting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So every month you should have your trial balance.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know your profit and loss, and maybe based on that you can decide for the next month whether you want to buy more raw materials or okay, this month we are already in red, so probably we are not going to buy more.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was one of the things is my game was created only to focus on one particular aspect, and we couldn't get too deep into the simulation itself. If I were the main teacher and if I were able to do this game over the course of a week, then I could add in extra elements and extra things to highlight different parts of what we had already learned as a...
I see. But how did you assess them before they finish? I mean, after the first month and then second month, right? Did you do some assessment?
I was doing mental assessments. I was going from table to table. I was listening to their conversations, listening to how they were making their decisions, and then watching the actual paper, looking at the actual paper to see what they were buying and selling, and if they were writing down their notes. Mm-hmm. Remember, I was asking them to do notes each month. Those notes are going to highlight to me if they have been able to identify the aspects that were changing. So that was a informal assessment that I was doing as I walked around the room, and then the more formal assessment came at the end with the exit ticket worksheet.
Oh, okay. All right. So the reason I asked this because probably right, you do halfway assessment and then you change some scenario on the spot.
Right.
I mean, if such thing happened.
Yeah, if there was something that had been identified during my observation that was a weakness or that they had not been able to pick up on, then absolutely you kind of park it there and add some more information, give them some more probing questions to get them to pull out the information that was missing.
Yeah, but so far you found that they could.
Yeah, they were actually doing surprisingly well.
Mm-hmm.
There was one particular aspect where I had introduced another supplier and told them that they could choose to change suppliers if they wanted.
Yeah, I remember
and
that.
Some of the table were talking about that they didn't want to choose the supplier because they didn't know anything about them, they didn't trust them, they didn't trust the quality. And that was literally what I was going to highlight in the following month. So they were actually pulling that information out among themselves in advance, which was good for me. It shows that they are operating on a very high level on that critical thinking.
They are doing high order thinking.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. And that makes me as a teacher feel like I'm doing it okay, because if I see the students being able to accomplish the goals at that level, then that means that we're on the right track.
Okay. Yeah. So then probably you do assessment from their homework.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes, that would be the final assessment for the lesson.
Okay. I think that's all from me.
Okay.
Right. Thank you.